Welcome to Top Line, the podcast for the best founders, operators, and investors in B2B tech. Every week, AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, will break down what's important for you to know to be the most well-informed professionals in the market.
This episode is brought to you by Attio, the AI-native CRM built for the next era of companies. Connect your email, and Attio instantly builds your CRM right before your eyes with every company, every contact, and every interaction you've ever had, enriched and organized. With Attio, you can build AI-powered automations and use its research agents to tackle complex operational processes like finding key decision makers and triaging incoming leads. Join industry leaders like Flatfile, Replicate, Modal, and more. Just head to attio.com/topline and you'll get 15% off your first year. That's attio.com/topline for 15% off your first year. Now back to the show.
Hey friends, welcome to Top Line Spotlight. You know Top Line Spotlight. It's our weekly segment where we get to talk to one of our great guests. Today we have the absolute best guest in the world. He is known as, apparently by some LLMs, as the best top line co-host in the entire world. One and only Sam Jacobs. Sam's been pointing to himself for the last 30 seconds. I think that's what actually...
my peoples.
I feel like, Sam, you just wake up in the morning and you're like, yep, this is me. I am him.
I'm the man with the plan.
Sam, this segment is all about you and what is one challenge, business challenge that you have conquered, you've taken down in the last, 12 months, 24 months? What are we doing? 24 months.
Okay. 24 months. Ooh,
24 months. Yeah, I'm going to open up the horizon here. There's 24 months. This is my show now, actually. I get to shoot the questions.
Don't do a shout out now.
You've asked the question. Now I should start answering it.
I think that's how this works, isn't it? This is how this works.
You should say, you amateurs. First, you say, "Who are you?" I say, "I'm Sam Jacobs, CEO of Pavilion." You say, "Before we get started, tell us about Pavilion. What is?"
That's
Pavilion?
how these introductions work. Okay.
We assume everyone knows.
So I'm AJ Bruno. I am the CEO of QuotaPath. You have Asad Zaman, CEO of Sales Talent Agency, and Sam Jacobs, CEO of Pavilion. Sam, welcome to the show. How are you doing, Sam?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you, Sam.
Sam, can you first tell our listeners a little bit about Pavilion?
Yeah, I sure can. Pavilion is the world's leading go-to-market community for operators. We're 10,000 people all over the world, and our mission is to help operating executives within go-to-market unlock and achieve their professional potential. What does that mean? It means that the world is constantly changing in go-to-market and the jobs are not stable. And so we've created a community and an educational institution called Pavilion University, whose job it is to equip you as a sales leader, a marketing leader, a customer success leader with the education and insights you need, with the peers that you need, of whom you can ask questions and solve difficult problems, and the experiences you need to lead the best and most fulfilling operating professional life that you can. That is what we do.
Sam,
you're launching Pavilion Gold, or have launched?
I am.
Pavilion Gold.
Yeah, we are. We are launching Pavilion Gold. We can talk about that if you want. That is our elite membership tier. It is invitation only. It is for operators, current operators, from 50 million in ARR up to $1 billion, and sometimes north of $1 billion. And that is a membership tier that sits on top of the 10,000 people that are all over the world, and it includes notable operators like Kyle Norton, the CRO of Owner.com, Ashley Grech, the CRO of Xero, Nick Warswick, the CRO of Upside, Keith Pierce, the CMO of Gainsight, Gaurav Agarwal, the COO of ClickUp, and many more. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to drop me a line, but it's invitation only. You got to go through an interview process. No CEOs, no service providers, no consulting.
Like Revenue Collective.
If you're going to be a fractional, you can't have been a fractional for more than 6 months. You have to be an in-between fractional pursuing the next big opportunity.
You can be a consultant and advisor rather than fractional, probably then, right?
No, you can't really be a consultant and advisor, not professionally. Like you can be an advisor because you left Databricks or you left OpenAI and but this is for operators. This is for people in role.
I love it. Sam, what was really interesting was seeing you build this community out and the speed at which it increased. Like, before we go into the challenge you solved, tell us a little bit about why you think this community became what it became so quickly. Like, there was this early group that had come together, and then it just like shot up. What was the state of the greater community that this was so needed? Like, what was happening?
There's a few, and this is also directly related to the mistakes I mentioned in our last full episode, that I've made a number of, that there are material flaws. There are flaws in the business that I created, and it was by veering away from what I'm about to say. So the first, there's a couple pieces. The first is that, as I just mentioned, originally Pavilion, formerly Revenue Collective, had very strict membership requirements. You couldn't just sign up online, and you had to be an operator. In our world, the people that are celebrated are investors like Chamath or David Sachs or Bill Gurley or Brad Gerstner or Harry Stebbings, or it's CEOs and founders. All you hear about are CEOs and founders, and you hear about investors, and you don't hear about operators. Mm-hmm. This was a club for operators and not for those people. It was actually it was an FU to those people. Mm-hmm. So first, who it was for was very, very clearly defined, and who was not allowed to join and who it was not for was very clearly defined. Related to that, it had a very strong point of view, and the point of view was that effectively it was a union for operating executives or a guild, but it was an association whose business it was to advocate for the operating executive. We taught people how to negotiate. We taught people how to ask for severance. We taught people about equity. We taught people what double trigger means and how to do a cashless exercise. We taught people to bake in the right to consult into their employment agreements so that us as CEOs couldn't tell people, you can't do any side work or moonlighting when it was non-competitive. So we equip people not just with like the skills of how to do go-to-market, but the skills of specifically how to lead their professional lives with more security and stability. So that point of view was critical, absolutely critical. And then, of course, there was some like other stuff, right? Like not everybody could join, so there was big FOMO. I would say that the technical innovation that made this possible, that was not previously possible, was twofold. One of them was LinkedIn, and the second was Slack. Mm-hmm. So the first, business would not have happened without LinkedIn. People started putting Revenue Collective on their LinkedIn profile, and it became a badge of honor, and it became, this thing that we measured very carefully. And then Slack became an opportunity for like a really more sophisticated group chat than like iMessage that could be organized. And it became a place where people could share, and it felt real time. It felt real time. And people felt like they were learning stuff they couldn't learn, by Googling. So
I remember this one thing that I noticed in the first couple of years. This go-to-market community, the way I'd seen it play out, was that everybody was very territorial about their playbooks and the way they thought about things and the way they did things. They viewed almost every other go-to-market leader as competition. And that's a little bit of like how this market functions. But you would see people holding on to their alpha or their edge. And I noticed that after a couple of years of the Revenue Collective being around, it became very common for people to start sharing openly and not feeling like by giving you my playbook, by giving you my framework, I am now going to be in a worse off position, like realizing that there's probably some benefit for me to be had if the whole community gets better. And that was, I noticed this as like direct correlation to you guys scaling. I think it's one of the most beautiful things you guys achieved in building this business.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, it was on the back of LinkedIn, all these people seeing it, people talking about it. So huge net promoters, because all of a sudden there was this moment where you could learn about equity and nobody else was teaching it to you. CEOs and founders benefited from you not understanding the terms of your equity agreement. So it grew very quickly. And then we made a series. I made, they're mistakes. You make them in the moment. They don't feel like mistakes, but the mistakes relate to losing focus on what got you there. And that's essentially it, losing focus on what you got you there. So we started everybody could join.
Yep.
Okay. So now everybody could join. Asa could join as a recruiter. Chris Gannon could join, everybody could join. And then we moved away from just focusing on go-to-market executives, and we let in CEOs, and then we were thinking about building operations collective for CFOs and COOs, and we just got so diffuse in our focus, and that was and we are unpacking. There was the impact of some of those decisions years later, and I think we will work our way through them. And now I would say now it's that the main membership is more of an educational institution than it is a private club. And so the trick is, can you build a private club on top of the educational institution? Can you build Harvard while many people are taking, Harvard online, but can you still make it so that there is a Harvard, and that is what's driving the brand halo of the Harvard online?
Sam, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I first found out about Revenue Collective when my current director of AI ops, Brandon Smith, he was running sales ops at the time. He got declined from his application process because he didn't meet the qualifications of the executive branch, but he met the associates. So he actually joined the associates. And I remember thinking about that, and I had FOMO immediately from that. Like, what community that qualifies you at that level? And then I heard your name at one of our customers, Michael, the CEO. I'll think of his name in a second. He's like, "Oh, you should meet Sam Jacobs." I was like, "Well, I heard he doesn't like CEOs." So I don't think I'm welcome. But that changed. And so there's this beautiful thing, as Asad would say, there's this beautiful thing where you have on one hand this qualification, this really tight-knit community. But on the other hand, you have this opportunity to welcome a greater group of people, and being able to merge those two things feels like there's been some decisions in there that have been conflictive. Is there anything that stands out? You're talking about this of like mistakes. Are there any mistakes specific to that stand out to you that you're like?
Yeah, I mean, we made it so that you could sign up online without talking to anybody, and we let in so anybody can join. That's the single biggest mistake we've made.
How do you go about, so you recognize you do it for some logical reason, you believe it's a good thing to do, you do it, it plays out, and then walk us through the moment you realize, oh no, this was a mistake, and how you then think about correcting it. And usually the thing that I'm most interested in is, what type of patience do you have to deploy in fixing it? Because you can't just can you just immediately change it? Are you phasing it through? How does that work?
No, I tried to do that in 2022. I was much, much more reactive in 2022 and as a leader, and that really cost us and we'd raised money. And so it was Laura would come back, LG, and she wanted to pursue teams, corporate memberships. And so we built out a big sales team to drive teams. And of course, the whole point of Pavilion is we're not going to sell to you, you're not going to sell to each other, but all of the SDRs that we hired were just prospecting into the membership. So we did that. And then we built out a big educational team that was somewhat slow moving. And all of a sudden our cost structure became so bloated. And it's why McKinsey says that it's much easier for a low growth company that's profitable to find and discover growth than it is for a high growth, unprofitable business to find its way to profitability. And I'm quite proud that we did reverse course and find our way back to profitability. But exactly to your point, Asad, the thing that that emerged was like, I have to slow down to, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And that fixing, quote unquote, fixing this will be a generational, not generational, it'll be 5 years. It's going to take 3 to 5 years to fix, because we want to preserve, there's still a good part of it, which is that there can be a pavilion for everybody. We do want everybody to take CRO school. We do want everybody to take CMO school. We do want everybody to have P&L fluency, but we do need to, and we do want to roll out programs for people that maybe are not the very best of the best, so that they can have a valuable membership where they have connection with people and they feel connected to this bigger thing. At the same time that we need our Birkin bag, we need to get the Birkin bag back, and we need, the Philip Patek Philip, whatever. Like, we need the thing at the top. We need the Black American Express card, because that brand halo is what gives value to, in some ways, the platinum and the gold card. And so that's what I'm building with gold. And the beautiful thing, I will just to finish, the beautiful thing is, like, thank fricking God that nothing has changed. Thank God that it's still that the genitals of the founders and CEOs are still the ones that are played with. It's still investors and founders that are thought of as the most celebrated heroes of all of these stories. And it is still true that the operating executive, so even the CMOs and CROs of large organizations, aside from, Chris Degnan or Ron Jabrisco, but aside from like a handful of CROs and CMOs, they still feel like they're under pressure. They still feel like they're being asked to do things that are very, very difficult to accomplish. There's still an opportunity. There's still an opportunity.
And they don't get any recognition for the wins. Like, I get actually really off-put by all of these, because we're in this moment where there are these companies that are accelerating at a pace that we've never seen before. And when they're announcing their fundraisers and all of these things, not once is somebody saying, kudos to the CRO who took this company from like $1 million to like 50 million in 3 years. Like, that required some sleepless nights and some amazing execution over a long period of time. Kudos. Like, you don't hear it as much. You see a lot of like, I want to thank my CTO or my this or my that, but you don't get it for the CROs.
People they still don't like sales and marketing people very much, at least not in, well, it depends.
I think technical founders find them hard to come to terms with.
But I will say, to answer the question, the first question, which is, how did I solve whatever the challenge was? And the fundamental answer to the question, which is to the point, is taking a longer term view. And there was a moment, actually, I don't know if it was this year, but it was in the last 6 to 9 months, when the board said, what do you want to do with this thing? And I realized that I hadn't answered that question for anybody. It doesn't mean, do I want to sell it? I do, just to be clear, I am trying to generate, massive, massive wealth. I'm not on a yacht, and I should be. So that's part of the goal. But really the point is, like, where are we taking the business? And so what I did was I built a 3-year vision that specifically articulates, this is what I want to do. This is when I want to do it. These are the pieces that will go into it. We'd never had like a 3-year vision with a coupled financial plan. I presented that to the company 2 weeks ago, and I feel much better because I just know this is where we're going. It's going to take some time. It takes time to build these things in the right way, particularly clubs. Cool clubs take some time to build. So,
and it's really easy to, like, if you reduce this, if you get too fast with things. We saw this with Soho House, right? When they tried to grow too quickly and expand too much, it didn't feel as exclusive.
The beautiful thing, because one of the questions I was going to ask on the last episode, though, is can a club that was once cool ever become cool again? And the answer, I think, is yes.
Absolutely.
And I think Soho House is a good example of that. I know people that are really excited about their Soho House memberships. And it's because you just make the restaurant great. Like, you make the restaurant great, people want to go there. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
in London, it got really crowded. And London has a lot of private clubs. It's probably the place where you have the most private clubs there. And so people really appreciate that type of experience. And the Soho House did become really large and very open to people. But then they opened a second location. And that one is like as exclusive as it gets, meaning like some of your most famous people in the world can't get in for 2 months. And so that became shiny again. So it was very quick. It didn't even take a long time. It took like, let's open this thing, make it extra exclusive, and everybody will want to be there. And we do cool things over there, and there's a cool event, and some cool artist is there, and everybody wants to be around that thing. And so, yeah, clubs can get cool.
They opened the one, in Austin, and I remember the build up to it. It was like 2 years waitlist, but just more recently, there was a text thread where they're talking about getting out of it. So I definitely think it's like a city by city situation. And I mean, Sam, that's kind of one of the challenges I was curious about. You have all of these demographics and cities and different areas, and you have to localize Pavilion in them, right?
Yeah.
How do you you've had GMs in the past, you have them now. How do you manage that process? And
we have a team. We have a team. We invest in chapter operations and chapter enablement. We treat them. We try to equip them with marketing materials. Last week we sent them all a little stand that they can say Pavilion event that they can take to a happy hour. We run automations for them. It's a team that we directly invest in. And that, again, that was like a realization. Like, it's not an afterthought. They are the heart and soul of Pavilion, and we want to make them great.
Yeah. Well, we are running out of time, Sam, and from the desks of the amateurs of Osid and myself, we had a professional guest on today. Sam, this has been great. This is Top Line Spotlight from your hosts, AJ Bruno, CEO of QuotaPath, Asad Zaman, CEO of Sales Talent Agency, and of course, Sam Jacobs, CEO
Bye, everyone.
of
I will
Pavilion.
say, before we go, I will say, if you're interested in Pavilion Gold, holla at your boy. Ryan Burke, if you're out there, I think you could be a good candidate. We're not going to let everybody in, but if you think that you qualify, please do let me know. You can reach out to me. You can find me online.
Great. Thanks, Sam.
That's good. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Top Line. New episodes come out every Sunday. If you like what you heard today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends. Don't forget to join our Top Line Slack channel to connect with us and discuss the topics we cover with other listeners. Click the link in the show notes. Lastly, if you're interested in joining Pavilion, you can learn more about membership at joinpavilion.com/membership. Thanks again for listening.